Listen, clickbait comes in all forms, shapes, and sizes, and there's no doubt that we're a little bit on the clickbaitish end. However, today is actually a PSA from us to you. It's a way to make sure that you don't get into some trouble and believe something that you think is true that turns out not to be. So if you are in the market for wheels and tires and you're going to be using a website to determine if they really fit your vehicle, this is the part you're gonna wanna listen to. We're gonna give you all the feedback about how you can kind of navigate through this problem and make sure you don't get stuck with a real nightmare. Let's get into it. What's going on? I'm Scott from Koenig, and before we get in this video, do the subscribe thing. We ask you to do it every once in a while. It's cool to have it down there. It's a button, it's red, it's, it's made for you to push. So we try to give you information about wheels, tires, and all the different technical pieces on this channel, but we also want to spread a little bit of information that has to do with a little bit more PSA type thing. And that has to do with when you're buying your wheels and tires, if you're gonna be using the website or the retailer that you're buying them through to determine if they fit your vehicle, I want you to hear some of the things you should know about those fitment checkers. See, a lot of times they're not necessarily done by knowing exactly what fits on each vehicle. They're done by having a range or offset that has to do with specs on a data sheet that gets plugged into a website. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have a good old Mitsubishi Eclipse. It may say that any wheel that's 8 inches wide to 7 inches wide that has an offset between 45 and 35 will fit your vehicle. And those are the parameters that the website will use to be able to tell you what fits. So that means anything you pick in that spectrum on that scale will come up and say, yes, it fits your vehicle. What are the caveats to this? Well, if you have a big brake kit, if your car came with a big brake, if it has some tendencies to have some weird issues, and we'll talk about some examples so you know what I'm talking about, this could get you in trouble because it could tell you it fits, and when you get the wheel and tire package into your house, when you get it to your installer, they go to put it on your vehicle, it doesn't fit. Something keeps it from fitting. So let's talk about a couple of those things so you can watch out for them. So let's give you an example of something that may be a little bit problematic. Let's say you have an Evo, right? You have a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, and this car comes with a Brembo brake. It's a large brake. Did the website take into account for it? See, technically, you can put anything on there from an 8 to a 9.5 in some inches, depending on the year of the vehicle. You'll also have some offsets that could go anywhere from 25 to 40. So how does the website know that that wheel's gonna clear your brake? See, it doesn't. And that's the determining factor that you need to think about when you're picking your wheel and tire package. Depending on the shape of that spoke profile, depending on if that wheel has a lip, depending on so many of the other things that we've talked to you about what the shape of a wheel can do and what the profile of a spoke can do to limit or increase caliper clearance, you may run into a problem where that brake that you have, that wheel bolts on the car, but it doesn't clear the brake, meaning that when you get it and put it on your car, it doesn't fit. So you might say, well, that's not my problem. They told me it fits. Fine print, my friends, fine print. Because if you look at a retailer's website, there may be some things there, return policies, cancellations that you didn't pay attention to. We're just bringing it to you because we get questions all day long and they'll say, well, no, they say it fits, we don't know why it doesn't. Keep that in mind. And again, if you're gonna have a big brake kit on the car, if you have any questions, this is a good time to send them in to us directly and say, hey, Koenig, does this wheel fit on my vehicle? Does this work? And if it does, we'll tell you. If we're not sure, we'll tell you. If we think it fits, we'll tell you. Most of the time we have a caliper library that allows us to overlay drawings and make sure that we know it fits 100%. And if you have an aftermarket brake kit, you could always send us a brake caliper template to fitment@koenigwheels.com where we can check it for you. We'll do this service for you because we want you to be a happy customer. We also want you to have a really good experience with wheels and tires, and we understand that potentially this could be an issue for you as you buy your wheels. So now let's talk about another thing that could potentially happen when they use an offset and a width requirement to be able to decide if that will fit a vehicle. You could run into an issue where the car is unique, has some sort of bracket or something like that. And the car that comes to my mind, I guess, would be a Chevy Camaro SS. That car in the later years, in that 2012, 2010 plus window, they had some cars that had these weird brackets, and if you put it on just a wrong size offset, a little too wide. Technically it fit the car, but it would catch, and it would catch right on top of the side of the wheel on the inner barrel. That was an issue where you kind of had to know which car you were looking at, and that's not something that you necessarily could say happened across the whole platform. That again could be another example where a specific vehicle has a unique issue where the offset and the width are not good determining factors. You really do want to know, does this clear my car? So websites are going to use some information that's in addition to offset and width. Obviously diameter matters, bolt pattern definitely matters, and load rating should be the next thing that's really important for a retailer to decide. Every wheel has a different load rating, and every wheel's load rating must exceed what's necessary for the vehicle that it's going on. So there are other things there, right? Does the vehicle need TPMS? Does it not need TPMS? Again, these are all things that have to be looked at, but most of that information is usually pretty accurate and it's usually easy to come by. So you're not really gonna see retailers mess up so much on that, and usually that stuff doesn't really have any gray area. Making that extra step just to make sure that you have double checked everything, you'll save yourself a lot of aggravation. Now look, I will say this, there are a lot of great retailers out there that are doing a lot of these different fitments. A good example of this would be like Fitment Industries. They always are doing their best to improve their fitment knowledge and edit their data to make sure that they are pretty much on top of it. And in addition to that, they have a great online gallery that allows you to go and look at wheel and tire packages on different vehicles and put the size that you're looking for in. So you'll actually see that wheel on a vehicle, look how it fits, and know that it clears that car exactly. So these are great tools that are there and they're out there in the open. The experience of being able to put a wheel and tire package on your car and have a good result is incredible. But the experience of putting a wheel and tire package on your car where it doesn't go well is a nightmare. And honestly, it's a costly nightmare, and it really could deter you from doing any modifications to your vehicle in the future. Don't let that happen to you. Take a little bit of precaution. You see where we're going with this whole almost was clickbait thing? Like, it's not clickbait, but it was a little clickbaitish. So, sorry. Anyhow, that's it for this one. If you have any other questions, throw them down below. We'll be happy to answer them. And until then, we will catch you on the next one. Take care.